everybody. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you a 4D, well kind of, a 3D I suppose, magic mirror from Snow White, and it's got Madame Glam's new Super Cat Eye Gel that's actually over the face in the mirror. So it's got like the smokiness around the face and then that weird ghostly face, but then the Super Cat Eye is on top of it, so it has this very deep kind of mystical line that goes through it, and it is so cool. It is the perfect use for that Super Cat Eye Gel that I personally have ever seen. I absolutely love it, and this one over here has been watching Snow White a lot recently. It's one of her favorite movies. We're gonna watch it a little bit more later, aren't we? Yep. So I've seen this image a lot recently. I hope you guys like it as much as I do, and don't forget to check out all of the Madame Glam stuff. I have it listed in the description box below, and I'll see you next time. Bye!
So we're going to start with an overlay of a glittery black acrylic. This is one of my absolute favorite glitter colors I have. It is one that I mix myself, but it's kind of a semi like milky black in the background, and then it's got this different combinations of purple glitter in it. I love it so much. So I hope if you guys actually want to see me mix that color, I do a video where I showed mixing it because I love it so much. But then we're going to encase the nail with a layer of clear acrylic to make sure it is nice and strong. And then after we have that layer on top of it, then we're going to file it into shape with our e-file, smooth it out, make sure it's all you know, pretty and not lumpy or bumpy or goofy or funky or uneven. All of that amazing stuff. And then we're going to sculpt the base layer of our mirror with a brown acrylic. And the acrylic I'm using, if you guys can see in there, it's got a little bit of a shimmer to it. Whenever I use a brown acrylic, I always opt for one that is slightly metallic or kind of a bronze color. And I have a bunch of them actually. I have one that is Young Nails, I have one that is Koopa, and I have one that is Double Dip. And for actual like color of them, I'd say they are all almost identical, which I think is hilarious. But I'm really happy because I use that color so much and I love it. It's good to have backups. And anyway, so we're going to sculpt that mirror, and it's a nice oval, except for the top of it is a little bit wider than the bottom. It's got this little indent in it, so don't forget to sculpt that part into it. But now we're going to thicken up the frame of the mirror. So this mirror is incredibly ornate and carved and beautiful, so we have to sculpt in all of that carving. So I'm going to thicken up the frame with more of that same color of bronze acrylic that I'm using, and add that little lip kind of going all the way around it. And make sure that the base that you sculpted is completely cured before you start adding this frame on top of it. So then after you have that, and you got a pretty nice, even, straight edge of thicker acrylic all the way around the outside, use the side of your brush or something like a floss pick to add kind of a ropey pattern on the outside. The original magic mirror has a intertwining snake pattern around it, but that would have been a lot more delicate to sculpt in with acrylic. So I decided to make a, little creative input decision and switch it to a rope pattern. If you do want to go really crazy and sculpt in the little snakes, that would be absolutely amazing. But for my personal purposes, I thought this was probably good enough. And then there's a little bit of a decorative twirly thing on the top of the mirror. And now we're going to add our details to the bottom of the mirror. We're going to start with pretty much the same process of sculpting in that little lip. This time make it a little bit more narrow instead of it being so wide as the first time. Sorry, my camera thinks my gloves are the focus of this video and not what I'm working on, but it'll figure it out in a second. So we're going to sculpt that in, and then after you have that, it's a little bit simpler. It's not quite as ornate as that carving, but there is a little twirly thing on the bottom of this mirror as well. So we're just going to kind of pull that acrylic down into that sort of floral shape, I guess. And now in the center, we're going to be sculpting it with purple acrylic. If you didn't want to sculpt this with acrylic, you could certainly use gel polish. That would definitely work instead. The reason I did decide to do it with acrylic is because I wanted to have a slight height difference between just the background of the mirror and the glass part of the mirror. So I decided to sculpt it just to bring it forward ever so slightly. And that'll actually add more depth to the final design when you add some darker and some brighter tones within the glass. Having that little bit of physical depth is going to just add. And then we're going to glue the mirror to the middle of the nail, just so that it is temporarily held in place. And then I'm going to take some clear acrylic and I'm going to fill in behind it. I also took a little bit more purple acrylic and smoothed out that mirror shape because there was an indent in the middle, and that would have been not as easy to paint on top of. So just make sure that that's nice and smooth. But then we're going to take little bits of clear acrylic and just fill in behind it. That makes it so much stronger, and you don't have to worry about it falling off or being knocked off or breaking. And now apply a layer of gel base coat to our little magic mirror. Cure that, and that's just to the mirror portion, not to the whole thing. But now using the color Twilight Lilac, I'm going to be adding some smokiness. And having that layer of cured base coat does help make this little smoky texture because it helps the gel polish kind of be moved around. And then with the color Soulmate, which is one of my absolute favorite colors from Madam Glam, I'm going to add some shading around my mirror. That's also going to shade in some of your smoke too. Can you see how much depth that already has? I'm going to use my Flash Cure light to do that. And then I'm going to add some little flames with the color Pistachio, which is a very, very vibrant green. And I'm going to do those on the bottom portion of the mirror and Flash Cure those again. The great thing with using a Flash Cure flashlight like I am using is you're not doing full coats of this gel polish anywhere where you really need to do a full cure between every single color switch, but doing that little Flash Cure quick can make the whole process go a lot faster, so you don't have to wait 30 seconds between every color switch before you add another layer. And I know it looks like I'm doing a Flash Cure for everything, but about every other time I did do a full cure as well, just so that it wasn't going to create a little bit of a uncured product bubble. Have you guys ever seen that, where there's like a bubble of uncured product if you don't cure it often enough? No fun. But then I use the color Hey Honey. That's for the start of our little ghosty face. And now I'm going to go back to my color Twilight Lilac, and I'm going to be adding some highlights to my mask. And if you want to, you could also mix a little bit of white into that Twilight Lilac to make a brighter shade, which I'll do, and I'll use that later, but that really brings it out. So use some of Madam Glam's Perfect White and then some of one of your purples to get some different shades in there. But I'm going to use the color Cross the Line to be doing some different highlights on the bottom of my mask's face. So this mask, because he has this really crazy lit from underneath glow to him, he's got a reflection of the green flames underneath. So he looks so strange, especially at this particular stage of painting him, where it's almost hard to tell what you're even looking at. So if you are going to be recreating this design, definitely grab a reference photo of the mirror from Snow White, because if you don't, this mask is so peculiar that it's hard to really see what you're doing. So make sure that you do plenty of highlighting and shading on him, or he just looks rather odd. But now I'm going to do kind of a floaty, bring him out from the background. So I'm going to do some shading with the color Soulmate again, but just applying that around the mask and then fading it out. See how just that little layer of shading around him brought the mask face really to the forefront of the mirror and does make it look like he's floating. But now with the color Perfect Black, I'm going to be doing some of my little details on my mask. So he's got some eyebrows and he's got his actual black eyeballs. And then a little bit to the inside of his mouth, like he's in the middle of telling the evil queen that she is not the fairest of them all. A little bit of outlining around his nose, give him some frown lines. And some, nasal lateral folds. Give him a little bit more darkening around the outside to bring it out even farther. And then I'm going to actually blend out some of these lines with a clean brush just to diffuse them a little bit so they're not quite so harsh, especially like the eyebrow lines and around the nose and those nasolateral folds, just so that they aren't quite so black and harsh looking. And I'm going to be doing just a little bit of touch up. I'm going to actually give him some white highlights here and there just to bring them out even more. Like I said, this mask requires a lot of shading and it is so teeny tiny, just so that it looks like the mask from Snow White and not like some weird bicolored ghosty face, if that makes sense. And then add a hint of the color Pink Me Up around his mouth for his lips. And then I actually shaded it in with a little bit of Smart Oxblood too to darken them. And now with the color Super Cat Eye Gel, this is the fun part. We're going to apply a very thin layer over our ghost face and over that whole mirror, and then stick that magnet on top, cure it very quickly before the line sort of spreads back out. And now with some gold acrylic paint, we're going to be doing little details on the outside of the frame of our mirror. So this is where you can kind of draw in that snake pattern if you want to do snakes. Otherwise, for me, like I said, I just decided a rope type style would be a lot easier and give just an ornate effect too. And then with some diluted blue, I'm going to add a slight blue hue to the the frilly parts on the top and the bottom. Just add a couple little details, a couple little red dots. If you look at the actual mirror, like I said before, it is absolutely detailed and gorgeous. But if you want to simplify it, there's no problem with that. And now we're going to take some white paint and just border the mirror so that it kind of has a little bit more like a popping out effect. And now apply some matte top coat over the frame and some gel sealer over the background and over over the mirror. Can you guys see how amazing that line looks and how there's just so much depth and mystical feelings to this little mirror? I love it so much. I hope you guys love it as much as I do. This final result is so cool, and it does look like that face is floating, which gives it just a really cool effect. So please share any recreations with me on Facebook or Instagram. I'd love to see them. And like I said, all of the Madam Glam stuff, all the colors I used and discount code and all that great things are in the description box below. So check that out, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!